On today's video, I'm going to go over my new favorite tip up. Hey there, outdoor YouTubers. It's Dave Knetter from Knetter's Practical Outdoors. And like I said earlier, in today's video, I'm going to tell you about my new favorite tip up, the HT Nordic Ice. HT stands for Hard Water Tackle, and Nordic Ice just stands for awesome. So why is this tip up my new favorite tip up? Well, right off the bat, let me tell you guys that I do prefer this rail style of tip-up. Alright? You can fit 3 or 4 of them in a 5-gallon pail like this, you know, along with your skimmer, along with a gaff, and along with some tackle. So I really do like how easy they store in a 5-gallon bucket. Another thing that I like about these rail style tip-ups is you can adjust this shaft on most of them, okay? You can raise this shaft up and down, all right? And some of you guys might be like, well, what does that matter? But it actually gives you a lot more adjustments in how heavy or how light of a trip setting you can put on your flag. Now, I know a lot of guys realize that on this T-bar at the top, there's usually like one small notch or one big notch, or one just normal size notch and a smooth side. And I think a lot of you guys realize that depending on which one you put the flag under, that can adjust your trip setting. But actually being able to adjust this shaft up and down will also adjust your trip setting. Now, I did an entire separate video on adjusting the trip settings on these rail style tip-ups. Okay, so if you're interested in more details on that, I will leave a link below in the description of this video if you want to check that out. Now, I know some of you guys really like those round, polar, hole covering tip-ups, all right, because they help to keep your hole from freezing up, right? Well, and that is a very important thing. And what I like to do is just use one of these foam hole covers. Okay, if I think I might have some holes freezing up. And again, if you're kind of new to using hole covers with tip-ups, I did another entire video just on using hole covers. Again, I will leave a link to that video also in the description below this one. And these foam hole covers like this are kind of handy for a few other things too, right? You can use this as like a kneeler, right? You can pull it out from underneath your tip-up, put it back down on the ground, kneel down on it with one knee if it's kind of wet or sloppy on the ice. And you can also kind of use these to like fling at your kids when they least expect it. So there's a few other uses besides keeping your hole from freezing up for these hole covers when you're out ice fishing. Okay, so I like rail style tip-ups. But what is it about this HT Nordic Ice that I really like? Okay, first of all, it has a decent sized spool, all right? It's not the hugest spool, but it's plenty enough for what I do. I don't like it when the spools get really dinky on tip-ups, so this is like a good medium-sized spool for a tip-up. Also, it has this little crank handle, all right? I really do kind of look for that in a tip-up. Some tip-ups don't come with that, but I really do prefer having this little crank handle on the spool of my tip-ups. And also, this spool is very smooth when it turns, all right? It actually has a lubricated shaft, which is a very nice feature. Okay, now, I know a lot of you guys are saying, hey, Dave, a lot of rail-style tip-ups have all those features. What's the big deal? Okay, well, the first big deal to me is this little foam hook keeper that's built right into the tip-up. When you're not using this tip-up, you can bury the hooks right in this nice chunk of foam, and they're out of the way, nice safe place, and they're not getting into your fingers. I know for a lot of you guys, if you followed the channel before, I've talked about how I actually tape a piece of foam onto all my tip-ups. Just for that very purpose. I fish with a lot of quick strike rigs, you know, where you have 2 trebles and I always like taping a piece of foam to my tip-ups, and I can bury that treble right in that piece of foam. Well, this HT Nordic Ice comes with that piece of foam built right in. You know, it's almost like somebody from HT has been watching some of my videos. Now the quick strike rigs that I fish with, I make myself. They're kind of a unique combination of fluorocarbon and wire. I generally use them with deadbait, and if you're at all interested in getting some more information on these quick strike rigs that I make, again, I will leave a link below in the description of this video so you can check out more on that. Another feature that I really like about this HT Nordic Ice Tip Up is on the end of it here, it has this spool shelter, okay? So when you close this down and you collapse it, all right, you kind of line up the crank on the spool with that slot, and it goes right into that spool shelter, and now that spool can't spin, and it keeps the line from unwinding when it's in your bucket or wherever. So that's kind of a handy thing. I really do like that. I know in the past, other tip-ups that I've had, I always wind up putting a rubber band around the spool to keep the line from spinning off when they're just in storage. So I really do like that spool shelter. And when you close this all up, it really does have a nice flat profile. Now, one modification that I did have to make to this tip-up is the line guide, right? You guys are familiar with that, okay? That usually sits down next to the spool when it's in the water and your line goes through it. Well, it was a closed loop line guide, okay? And most tip-ups do come like that. But I really don't like that. I always open up that line guide with whatever style of tip-up I have, okay? Now this line guide is all plastic, so I had to melt a little slot in it, all right? Now, some of these other ones are just kind of a heavy spring metal, and I just kind of had to take a pair of pliers and open them up to get an opening in that line guide, okay? And the reason I do that, and I've talked about this in other tip-up videos, maybe I've caught a fish and I've got the line laying on the ice and I kind of want to get it back on the spool. I like to be able to take the line, okay, get it right out of that line guide, slide the line guide out of the way, and just kind of, you know, wrap it around by hand and get the line back on the spool. All right, I've always found that that's kind of a handy way to get the line back on the spool. Well, you can't really do that if you can't easily get the line out from that line guide. Now, as long as we're on the subject of ice fishing, I want to give a quick shout out to my buddy Hodag Trapper. A while back, I did a video on my Deer Camp beer can collection. And in that video, I showed that I had a few of the old Schmidt beer cans. You know, the ones with the different outdoor scenes. And Hodag Trapper noticed that I did not have the ice fishing Northern Pike Schmidt beer can. All right. And through some correspondence, he let me know, hey, I think I got an extra one. And lo and behold, one shows up in my mailbox. This is a very cool beer can. Ice fishing, Northern Pike, gotta love it. So the next time I'm out at my deer camp, this one will definitely be going on the display. So thanks again, Hodag Trapper. Alright guys, well there's a quick rundown of the HT Nordic Ice Tip Up. And like I said earlier, this is my new favorite tip up. But anyways guys, hey, remember to hunt, fish, laugh, repeat. Oh hey, you stayed till the end. Just for that, I'm going to give you an extra bonus fishing tip. You know, there's an old saying that if you give a man a fish, he eats for a day. But if you teach a man to fish for muskies, he'll never eat fish again. So anyways guys, don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. This is Dave Knetter from Knetter's Practical Outdoors. Hey, thanks for watching and God bless.